just started recording. If you can see my screen, just ensure that I know you can see my screen so that we are on the same page. Can you guys see my screen? Yeah, Scholar said yes. That's a good thing. Ken also said yes. All right. So basically, this was the first part of the assignment. Remember, guys, I whatever we were looking at when we were setting this was basically these are some of the things that we have done, some of the things that we have been mentioning, but we just also wanted to know when we say data validation. Yeah, we know that it is under the data ribbon and it's under this button, but what exactly does it mean in Excel? Okay, so when you talk about relative reference, an absolute reference, a mixed reference, or mixed referencing, what do we really want to see? When you talk about worksheet protection, yes, we do know that worksheet protection lies under the review button and the workbook protection. Okay, uh, sorry, review button, and then we have the sheet protection that will give you the worksheet protection. But what does it mean? Okay, so also we also wanted to see under the ribbons, these ribbons. So when you're told to go to the home ribbon, I just wanted to see just to you to tell me what are these, what is going on around here. I know I can do a lot of things, but I just wanted a summary. Okay, so that is the same. This is for the home, insert, page layout, formulas, data view, and all that. Okay, so under here I wanted to see explain the following commonly used terms using Excel. When I told you to freeze some panes, what do I mean? When you want to print titles, when do you print titles, and when does it happen, and under which ribbon does that occur? Okay, this is quite new for a person who was very keen. I have been using it. If you have seen tracing precedents, I will show you how to trace precedents and trace dependents, but I've been using it. But if you had not seen it, you have a chance to see it today and get to be using it. Okay, so this was also we know that tracing precedents is always hosted under the formulas. Then you have these trace precedents where you can trace indicates which cells affect the value you are currently selected. Okay, so also from the trace dependence we'll get to see. So basically this was just the theory part. Okay, the theory part was quite easy because again, if you don't know how it works, there's always Google for you. You can always go Google, see another definition, of saying. I'll just try to make it maybe 110. Is it okay now, John Karaoke? You can see it from my end. John Karaoke, is it okay? All right. So here, that is all I wanted. Remember, as I'm saying, if you are not really sure of some of these things, we have some of the definitions in our notes. Remember, we cannot write the definition of each and everything. There's a watch window, there's a calculate now, but you can always look it up on Google, or you can try using it and seeing how it works. I always prefer using it so that you are used to. Remember, you can only be good if you practice. You can only know some certain things if you just get down to your worksheet and try do some things. Okay, if you have a problem, try solving it on your worksheet and then go. Okay, so I'll go to this part. I want to go about it very fast because it was not very complex. It was a rather simple assignment just to see if you do understand what is going on. So the first practice was just to you were told to rename the first worksheet to practice that. So here we had the first worksheet indicated in some number. So you could just go ahead, and I hope you can see the whole of my screen up until my worksheets. Yes. So practice data. Okay, so that was just just basically it. And then it was telling me to resize all the data to out of fit all the columns. Remember we said the out of fit option, you can always highlight everything, go to the first column, you'll get this cross I don't know which sign is this. Anybody who knows the name of this symbol can type in the chat box, but just a cross with two arrows on the horizontal line. Okay, so with that, when you just do it like that, everything will be out of all the columns will be auto fitted automatically. Okay, so you don't have like to come to one column, then I try guess the size. You just highlight the whole sheet, then you auto fit the parts. Okay, so that was just the second part, just to see if you guys know how to do it very fast. Okay, so the next thing, format the dataset using functions that are easily readable in readable formats. Okay, that is columns E to F. So I said columns E to F, this is a date. Okay, just from the word you can see that this is a date, a period cover from is a date, a period cover to is a date. So for this, I just wanted to see if you guys still remember how you can do it very fast, and you can be able to go to your control one dialog box, or you can use the home ribbon. We said you can use the home ribbon, then use this button, still gives you the same results as the control one button. So but some people are saying that they don't have this, so you can always use the control one button to format this, or you can use this part here. Okay, you can always use this, but it doesn't give you as much variety as you might want. Okay, because there are people who like their dates in certain formats. You can always go under the date tab, format it, because right now if you give an Excel user this data, they will think that the authorization date is some certain figure. Yeah, but this is just a date. Okay, just from reading it you are able to decode that, and from the knowledge that we've been having, that this is an Excel date. Okay, so this was an authorization date, and then the period cover from, the period cover to. So I'll just go ahead and format using my favorite date format, which happens to be under the customs. Okay, so you can always find date formats under the date or custom. If you come to custom, remember guys, we said when you learn the syntax, you can have the date in wherever way that you want. So I usually like my dates in this format, where I just see the month and the year, though the full date is represented. But for explanation purposes, I'll just use that full date. So once I have those as dates, I have my account here. The practical also said columns J to K. Columns J to K, this premium is an amount, sum insured is an amount. So I would like to see how many of you in just use them as amounts, because amount is money. All right, so I just go ahead and format it as a currency. I don't care which currency you used, because you can, maybe you're more, you like the US dollar more, the Ethiopian birr, maybe the Tanzanian shilling, but I just wanted you to format it as a currency of sort. Okay, so I'll just keep on checking. All right, so once you had done that, the next thing that that had been instructed here was protect the worksheet with the password data. Okay, there's a question on how we put in the currency. Remember we had said from our first class, there are there are various ways to format numbers. Okay, so everything, be it a date, be it a height, it will be represented using a number. But once you format it, and you can always check on the formula bar, so it doesn't matter what you use here in the currency. In the formula bar, it just takes it as a number. Here it might look as a date, but this, remember, is just a number. So if you want to format your numbers, you can always just go to the control one under the currency function or menu. You can always select the currency of your choice and the decimal places that you want. By default, currencies usually have the comma separating thousand values. All right, so the next thing was protect the worksheet with the password. So I wanted just to see again Do you understand now the metrics of protection? Scholar asks, which Excel are you using? Right now, I'm using the Office 365, which is the most current version of Excel that exists. But remember, all the functionalities that I'm using, I'm not using any newer function that is not available on the 2016 and even 2013 versions. Okay, uh, all the functions that I'm using, all the examples that I'm using, I'm ensuring that they can be applicable in all the in all those versions. Remember, you might see some things here. Maybe they automate the fuzzy lookup, a few things here and there, but let them not worry you. These are in the newer versions, and they should not be a worry to you right now. Okay, so if you don't have them, just use what you have. Okay. So here I said you can check the currencies. You can transform the currencies in what you want. Okay. So that is that. Okay, the next thing was to protect. Remember, I said categorically by default that when you press your control 1 and you go to protection, you'll see two things here. By default, all cells are usually locked here. I hope everybody can see that, or you can just go to any cell, click the control 1, and then go under the protection tab to look under these two check boxes. Okay, so by default all cells are usually locked. What does this mean? This means that if all cells are locked and I go ahead and I put in my password, like data that way and then data that way, okay, I cannot make any changes in my worksheet now without unprotecting it. Okay, so okay, Fatuma, then Malvin. Okay, let me just finish this, then you go. Okay, with your questions. Uh, Look at this. At certain times, for example, you might have wanted people to use this worksheet, but selectively. Okay, you want them to only fill some certain places. I'll just do this in column L. Maybe fill in something. Fill in what? Fill in full town. So for example, I don't know, this MSAs means Mombasa and I'm a little bit confused. So I want somebody to change only this column. Okay, so what will I do? And I want to protect everything else so that they cannot change. So I'll just go highlight my column that I want changed, this one. I'll go to my control 1. I'll uncheck this box. Okay, so once I uncheck it now, and then I go ahead and protect my sheet using the same password. Remember to always use a password that you can remember, because if you cannot, it will mean that you need to break your your Excel sheet. Okay, so here I've locked my worksheet. Here I cannot change anything, or the person I'm giving cannot change anything, but they have some write some rights to write on my worksheet. So for example, I can enter here Mombasa. Okay, I can enter here same Mombasa. All right, I can go ahead and enter here maybe Nairobi. But remember, I've only enabled this column to have those powers. If I try to write here something else, it will tell me that I don't have those kind of abilities. Okay? All right. I hope you guys are listening in, and that's a very important thing, especially when you're sharing out a file and maybe it has a few formulas, and you want some certain parts locked and only some certain parts accessible. Okay, I'll just repeat one more time. I'll just undo this. Okay, I'll just delete this. I had not removed the protection from the first cell. Okay, so what am I saying? I've unlocked my cell. I can do any changes that I want. Okay, if I was to get off this number, I can. Okay, But for example, now you guys look keenly. I want somebody to write on, maybe it's a comment, maybe it's something, maybe it's just something. You can think of anything that somebody might need to write on as an addition to your data. Okay, maybe to append some data just here. Okay, so that's why I said, for example, we maybe ask them to write the full name of the branch. Okay, okay. So if I wanted the full name of the branch now, I want only this column to not have any any locking. Okay, column L. Okay, so remember to go very fast to your to the last row of your data. For example, this was 79 99 rows. You can always use the control page down, the control page up to shift in between the these places. Okay, so if you want to go up very fast, use the control page up. Go down very fast, it's control page down. Okay, so I just want to highlight everything here. I want to remove the protection here. You see it's locked. I want to unlock it. Okay, so that when I protect my sheet here, okay, I can now only I can only change this column that I've allowed. Okay, so that is maybe Mombasa. Let me just rewrite it well. Mombasa. So if I try to do anything else here, I won't have those rights. Remember, those rights only belong to the person who has protected the sheet. I hope that is well clear, understood. And now I'll take those two questions before I proceed and go to practice two. Practice one was just basically the basics, no much ado, and just how you can present your data, ensure that nobody can interfere with it, and just easily readable. For example, if I was to read this data, I will know that this insurance was between these two dates. Okay, period cover from, period cover to. It was authorized on this date. Okay, and it's an account year of 2017. It was the business was brought in by a broker. This premiums paid for this type of insurance was 2,500, and the sum insured for the object that was being insured in this case was 82,000. All right. I had seen two hands, I think Fatuma and Marvin. If you don't have any questions, I beg to proceed, because again, I just didn't want to use much time just going through the assignment, but I just wanted you guys maybe to understand some of the things that I was looking for and why I was looking for them. Okay, so I went ahead and said create a unique column, a unique list for a unique list of column branch code. Okay, so why did I want a unique list? Because I wanted my validation to be very short and very clean. Okay, and I'd not limited you to where you can paste your validation list. Okay, so even if you chose to write it here, you chose to write it back there, because in my mind I thought once you lock this you won't be able to change anything. That was my thought process. You lock, you don't change anything, you find another place to write. So if I was to just pick the branch code, okay, this one. All right, I'll just copy it. Remember, I can copy but I cannot paste. Okay, so if I try pasting here, what happens? I cannot be allowed. Okay, so I go paste in another. I can come paste it here. All right, remember we said you can always use the values, the different types of pasting. Okay, so I can just copy them as values. I go ahead to my data tab, remove any duplicates from my list. Okay, so here I have a unique list of the branches. Okay, so this business in particular has 7 branches across the country. Okay, so from this list, this is now I just wanted a validation from this list. So you go ahead, data validation. Okay, you use list. Now which is the source of your list? This is the source of your list. Okay, then you press okay. So I have a data validation for my branches. Okay, this is unique. It won't keep on repeating like Mombasa 5 times, CBD 10 times. Okay, I don't want that kind of thing. Then the next thing I ask you to is to create a unique list of the column source. Okay, so source where the business came from, source. Okay, so same procedure as we had done here. Okay, I'll just copy them as values. Okay, so once I come remove these duplicates, I just continue the current selection, remove duplicates, press OK. I have four sources of business. It can either be a broker who brought in the business, can either be an agent who brought in the business, can either be a direct business. Remember, this is insurance, so maybe somebody came into the office and said, I want an insurance. Maybe it was brought in by a broker. Maybe we have agents in who sell our insurance. Maybe it's a facultative in. Okay, so here I'll just go ahead and create another validation. This is just the same procedure. Remember, guys, there's something we are not doing here, but you can do it always for as a best modeling practices to to label your validations and just direct the choose the source just to direct your users. Okay, so you tell them to choose the source of business. Okay, and then you can give them an error alert if you so wish. Okay, so when you hover over there, you'll always alert your user to choose the source of business. Here you can alert your user to you can always alert your user to maybe select a branch. It can be branch, then select a branch. Okay, so you have that. You can select that, you can select that. Then I wanted create a unique. Then here I said copy cell B17 in cell B26. One, I wanted you to know how to read, to look at the cells. Like when I'm in this cell, when you look at the name box, which cell am I at? And I also wanted to pass across another message in this question, in that when I copy a validation from one cell and just paste it as it is, the validation will always come with a cell. Okay, that is one thing to note. When you copy all, a validation will always come with a cell. Okay, you can choose not to copy it, and you can choose just to copy it validation as it alone. But once you use the all, or just what we say here, Control C, and then I right click my mouse here, there's always an option of just picking the validation. Okay, but once you use this all paste, it will paste everything. Okay, are you together, guys? Yeah, can see no question. So remember, we were just going through this very fast so that we go to today's main topic.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes.
You say copy and remove duplication, you press where?
For duplicates, remember we said you highlight the whole column with duplicates. All right, then you go to your data ribbon. Then under the data ribbon, there is this above the validation button. There's always this button with a small X at the is it lower right? So on the lower right, you'll always find this button. When you click it, it will ask you, do you want to remove the extra duplicates? Yes. Okay, just from the words you can read here, remove duplicates, delete duplicates rows from a sheet. Okay, you can pick which column should be checked for duplicate information. Is that all right, guys? You've seen, okay, I've answered that. So you've seen here, you've just copied the validation that you had created earlier. Okay, so for cell referencing, I wanted here again, remember we had done such a thing, but I wanted us just to see if you guys really understood what we did in class. Okay, so here I wanted you just to create one formula in the cell B35, marked in red using mixed references, then drag the formula across and downwards to ensure that it works properly. What did I want to see here? Here I wanted to see if you really understood the mixed references. So here, for example, with I said I want to see there are three types of insurances, maybe standard, premium, and exclusive. and each has its own price and each has its own discount option. So at the first instant I want this one, okay, because this one will keep shifting downwards. So I said I can always lock my column. All right, so to lock my column only, okay, then here I wanted a formula that keeps shifting on the row. So here I'll come ahead and lock my row. Okay, so I'm sure that this formula, 20% of 1,000 is 200, and if I drag it to any direction, I'll still get the same answer. I'll get the correct answer. All right, so that was just basically simple, but why I put it here, I wanted you guys to do it. Okay, and how will I know that you use the same formula? uh, Once you drag all the formulas, remember it goes with all the validation. Something else, always in all your Excel sheets, I don't expect to find hard coded values. I always expect to find formulas. So if you're hard coding your values, you're doing yourself a very big disservice. Is there a question? All right. So remember, I'm saying if you had code your values and put them as just numbers, you're doing yourself a very big disservice. One, in terms of how I look at your work, I can't verify that you really use the right formula, so it will be even hard for me maybe to look at your work. Second, when you're modeling and you change something, okay, and you had used a hard code, remember that value won't be updated. Sometimes you're building a very robust model with, yeah, that can even go to maybe, I don't know, 1,000, 2,000 lines of rows. All right, so you're building a model that will maybe use some certain very few aspects but changing in every place. So once you had code your values and write them as numbers, you won't be able to do your model properly. Okay, so this is just like an advice. Kindly don't hard code your numbers. Okay guys, I'm seeing like time is not on my end, so I'll move in a little bit fast to get to our today's uh today's session. Okay, how many customers does the insurance have? I gave you a tip. Remember, this tip is just because most of us are not familiar, and I didn't want anybody go and count the customers. So here we assume that every line, because all these insurances are different, okay, because they are for different, acquired from different branches, acquired on different days. So intuitively these branches should these rows should give us the number of customers in this insurance. So some of you I know might have come and looked at 79.99, maybe remove the first column, but that is not the correct way to do it. Was to either you can use account. Remember, if I use account on the whole data set here, uh, where I have values, I'll still get my answer because I'll get 79.98. Or I can use the counter, but I now know that a counter will count everything, so I'll have to remove the first column using a -1. I can now use any column with a counter. Then I'll just go ahead and remove the first headings column to get the number of customers. So what is the total sum of premiums in LD Town? Once you have created a validation, I don't think this sum if should be a problem, because now this is just a sum if. What is the total sum of premiums? Okay, so remember, you look at the syntax, at the arguments of the formula. So the first one, it requires a range. So you want to use the range of towns. So you come here, select towns. Okay, just I've selected all the towns. I'll just ensure that for best practices, again, use absolute references where need be. Okay, the next thing I want to check is the criteria. Now I can now use my validation up here, in which I had branches. Okay, so branches, towns, just the same thing. I'll go ahead and select Eldoret town. What do I want to sum from my question? My question was asking, let me just move back. My question was asking me to the total sum of premiums. So for premiums, that will be my sum range. I'll just go ahead and have my my sum range there. Okay, so again I'll ensure it's locked, and then I'll now here it's giving me a 0 because I've not selected any town under my validation. I'll come ahead and select a branch Eldoret. Okay, so once I do that, I'm sure I'll be getting some premiums. So this was the total sum of premiums in Eldoret town. Okay, so I'll just format my number back to 0, use 1,000 separator. That, remember, I could have copied this validation here, still give me the same thing. Okay, I'll copy this validation here, then use my formula here. Okay, same to sum insured of Mombasa. All this just follow the same logic. Okay, so here again there was a concatenation function just to see if you understood how to use the concatenate function. All right, so I wanted you to just create a dynamic title including your name and the date today. So when I open this when I open your results, I should be seeing just your name and the date today. So how could this happen? You can use the concat function as we had alluded earlier, or you can use the and, so the ampersand. So for example, I'll just go ahead and maybe use my name. Remember, I said for any text or string data type, always use the speech marks. Okay, so maybe Kennedy Karanja. Okay, as at, all right, as at. So I want to combine it with, I want to combine this. Okay, ampersand, and I want the function of today. But I know the function of today has to be formatted. Let's see what I see first, because I'll just get Kennedy Karanja and a number. But I don't want this number. I want now to format this. Remember, we said you can use the text function to format this into any date of your choice. For example, I want like this was date, then it's month, then year. Okay, year. All right. So with that, I can now go ahead and have a date. Now you see, this now gives me the date today. If I get to open my file tomorrow, it will change now to Kennedy Karanja as at 31. Okay, then finally save the date. Finally save using your it was supposed to finally save using your name and the date of submission, just to see if again you understand the concept of file then saving as. Okay, so save as, you just go and you save as the project that you are using those instructions. Okay, so up until that point, I think we are all good. In case of any question, I'll ask to move on. Is there any question before I move on? Was there anything that was difficult in that? Guys, can you hear me? Yes? Yes, we have talked about referencing at this question. This question here. Well, we said you can use, remember, this is a mixed reference in which we have one part as an absolute reference and the other part as a relative reference. If you look at this cell, this D part is on a relative reference, and the row part, which is the 34, is under the absolute reference. Is there any other question? Okay. Yes, continue. Go ahead. Okay, here, whatever I said is that once you copy a cell with all its, you remember there are different types of pasting. Okay, and that's why I was very categorical on why you should know these different styles of pasting, because once you paste this whole cell B17 on cell B26, for example, I'll just copy another cell that it doesn't have anything here. Okay, there's no validation on B26, there's nothing on B27, but I just want to copy cell B17 down here on B26. What happens? This cell does carry all the aspects that it had here. It does carry the formatting, all right? Remember, this cell didn't have any formatting. It does carry the even the validation with it. So whatever I wanted just you to see here is what when I copy a validation from one cell to the other, what happens. All right. Okay, because of time, I think if you have any other further questions, you can ask me, the person who asked about validation, if it's very not clear. There was a question by Patricia. Patricia asked, can you kindly repeat on the concatenation part? Remember, on this part of concatenation, we said you can either use this the ampersand. This is the ampersand, the and. It's above 7, or you can use the concat function. So if you're not too familiar with the ampersand, you can use the concat function. Remember, this part we said is one of the styles of formatting. You can, because now once you've, okay, I'll just remove this part. So if I was to use the today function just alone like that, I get this 4496, which is my date, as a number, but I want to add to it some style, some formatting. That's why I you can use the text function, which now gives you the value that you want and then how you want to format it. Okay, so for example, here I said you can use date, you can use the full month name, mmm, and then you can use the maybe year. Okay, just to see, use that and then that. So that gives again a different type of date, just the way you want it. Okay, so if I wanted that, I just use that. Okay, I hope now it's a bit clear. It's just concatenating like a string and a number. So this maybe something that you change every day. Maybe it's a sales report as at today. Okay, so I don't want to keep changing as at 30th, as at 31st every moment I open my worksheet. What do I want to change? I want to just come open my worksheet, find a title has automatically changed. Okay. So John asked, I think this is the last question I'm taking on this. Must we have specified the currency in the premium, and can we just format the decimal as number since you are not specified the currency? Remember, here, if you didn't specify it, it's okay. But I hope that you have seen whatever I wanted to do. It won't change the numbers. It won't change how even your sum is worked. But I just wanted to see if you guys can now put into action what we had gone through. I'll just check the formatting in which you used. If you made it like just a number, it's still okay. I don't have any problem with that. Okay. All right. So I don't think there's any other question on that. So I'll just close. I'll save this and close it. Yes, kindly go ahead. Uh-huh. Okay. Mm-hmm. Mm. So you're saying we select this whole column, if I get you right. Here, here. Okay, here. Yes. Yes. I understand, but I don't get your point. I don't understand because if I use this whole column, correct me if I'm wrong, I'll have so many duplicate values in the same validation, and that is what I wanted to avoid, just to make it user friendly. Uh-huh. I've created a shorter list. I've created a shorter list here. Uh-huh. You can see it here on my screen. Uh-huh. Yes. No, you can't leave it as source. You have to select the list because this list is what appears now on your validation. Yeah, yeah. Uh-huh. Okay. 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 I'll try I'll try and check it out and just follow your thought process, okay? But on the next maybe project or assignment for again, remember these are things that we are teaching you on how you can use these things in the business setting, okay? You don't want to be messing your data where you have saved it and maybe some people might not understand, okay? So from the next assignment maybe just follow what we have, all right? I okay. Okay, I said if do select here, control one, all right? Can you see my screen? Control one, I do protection. This cell, all cells by default are locked, okay? So under the same control one, there's a drop down or rather a header with protection. That is why I did unlock, okay? Is it clear?
Okay,
Yeah,
fine.
yeah, yeah.
So with this one, you can be done for a selected column.
You can select a range, for example, like that. This is the only place I want you guys to maybe write on. I unlock. Then now after I unlock there, I go ahead and lock my sheet. When I lock my sheet, you will be able to write only on this place because all the other places will be locked. Okay, let's see. Yeah, so I can write here, but I can't write anywhere else. Okay, is that okay, guys? Thank you for your questions, and it means you're following and you're understanding these things, okay? Is everybody okay? So I am jumping on now. Actually, I've jumped on to. Hey, where's the problem, my friend? Uh-huh. Yes. Which formula is bringing a challenge? Because I believe all the formulas that we used here were quite straightforward. If it was a sum, if. Uh-huh. Okay. Or the ones that we did on Friday, on Thursday. Okay, which formula exactly so that I just go through it very fast? Just a recap. Some if is still a problem. I believe that should not be. Okay, so is there any other challenge with any other formula? I think I'm done with the assignment. I'll close it. Guys, I want us to move very fast. Remember, we are short of time, but if there's any pressing formula apart from sum if, is there any other pressing formula that you feel like we need to recap it a little bit? I will choose to recap over just the sum ifs. No. Okay, okay. So guys, look at on your screen. We'll just use the one that we had used. Okay, we remember guys how we worked about this was creating a. We wanted now to create a formula. We created just a column give us a give us a feel of summing if a certain criteria, okay? So here we created we created this column by checking if the market prices here, market retail prices, were less than the sales prices, okay? So we said if the market price is less than the sales price, then we want to buy that phone, okay? Otherwise we want to reject, okay? So we went ahead and said here we want to sum if all these amounts that are written by. Okay, so if something is written by, we want to find the total value of it. So what did we do? We went ahead here under sum ifs top formula. I think we can just do it again. Sum if, look at the arguments. One, you're given a range. Okay, so remember, what are we summing in this? What are we summing in this case? It's these options. Okay, so this becomes our range. Okay, I lock it. Then what criteria in among this range do you want to use? Do you want the reject? Do you want the buy? I chose the buy. Okay, and the sum range indicates what you want to sum. Okay, so what do I want to sum? I want to sum the market retail prices. Okay, so I'll just do that and press OK, so that I get, if I was to buy everything that is just written by, okay, this is the amount I will spend. Okay, somebody else asked, what if I didn't want to use that criteria, and what I just wanted is to know the value of LGs, okay, in the market. Okay, if I was to buy all the brands written LG with the market retail prices, how much will I need? So we said the same thought process. Now your range changes from this column. Now it becomes the brand that you want to choose. All right, so the brand that you want to choose, what do you want? You want now your criteria becomes the LG phone. Okay, and then what do you want to sum the sum range to be? It is the market retail prices. Okay, then that will give you the value of the all the LGs in this set of in this range of data. Okay, so again, here we created just two validations, just that it was just an example. Now sum ifs. Okay, so sum ifs now checks for more than one condition. Okay, sum ifs goes ahead and checks for more than one condition. Okay, so here, for example, I'll just delete that. Here we want to sum if the phone is a Lenovo. Okay, here, and we want to ensure that the phone is under the buy option. So if we were to buy all the Lenovos that are indicated by, how much will we spend on this market retail prices? So we go ahead and write our formula. So sum ifs. So our sum range, what are we summing? Now sum range comes first. Check the difference between a sum if and sum if. Sum if, the sum range is at the end. Sum ifs, the sum range is at the beginning. So that is just to note. Okay, so there, I'll lock. So my first criteria is the phones. Okay, I select all the phones there. Okay, what phone do I want? I want a Lenovo. Okay, the second criteria, now I want it must be indicated by. Okay, so that becomes my second criteria range, and here I select it must be indicated by. So I find that if I was to buy all Lenovo's here and they have the buy tag here, I will spend 91.82. Let's just come and check. The first Lenovo here is indicated Lenovo. It's a fast phone retail Lenovo, and it has a buy option, so it satisfies our criteria. That's why we have 91.82. Unfortunately, it is the only Lenovo around. So what about LGs? Okay, so what if I was to buy LG and it must be written LG? Let's see what happens. I wouldn't need to spend any money since all the LGs were rejected by our criteria before. Have you understood? So sum if just checks one sum if checks one condition from a certain range of cells given a certain criteria. Sum ifs checks certain sets of condition from certain given criteria. Is it clear? For those who had asked, is it clear? This is a very important point, and I wouldn't want anybody to miss it. Okay, thank you for agreeing. So guys, there's a formula that I wanted you guys to see. This is a very important formula. I didn't mean to repeat it, but again, it's a very important formula. Very, very important, guys. When I tell you it's important, kindly note that it's important. The index and match. It gives you the. Remember, we said in a VLOOKUP, we look at the leftmost. You can only look up from the leftmost column. So if you have a set of data, whatever you're looking up must be in the first column. Or yeah, first column, so for you to be the leftmost, so that you get an answer of what you're looking for. The index and match goes ahead and breaks that jinx. Okay, the index and match can look from any column that is just specified by the these two match functions. So if you have the first match and the second match, remember you can look from anywhere in the table and get a solution. So guys, I know I didn't ask for this, and because I wanted you guys to go and internalize it a bit, but I would want to see you guys using this formula. Okay, just to find anything within this set of data. Remember, these are just 10 rows. You can check, you can search, but when it's a bigger data set and you want to search for something very fast, you always ensure that you use the index and match. The VLOOKUP is easier in terms of the syntax to use, because it has just the lookup value, the table array, the column index from which you want your solution to come, and then you specify the range lookup, which is either an approximate match or an exact match. But the index and match has more values, in which it has, you specify the row number and the column number using the two match functions, and then you get your solution. But I will advise, if you're not very sure, just go and check on how the formula is used, and maybe use it for some of your work. I won't go to the offset function, because this, I said again, the syntax is more complicated, and I wouldn't want to. But for anybody, a syntax, an offset function is important, since it gives you an array. Okay, it's among the few formulas in Excel that can give you an array without really using the array function, which is the Control Shift Enter. Okay, so that is just to note. But for me, my take home should be, you should understand the VLOOKUP. It's the commonly used. But again, after you understand the VLOOKUP, transition onto the index and match for your functions. Okay, are we clear up until that point? Are we clear, guys? Is there any question on the formulas? Because I'll rather take time explaining this index and match VLOOKUP, so that I make sure I don't leave anybody behind. I don't know if let me just rejoin the meeting. Okay, guys, are we together? I want a question from here, because before I move on, because I'm moving on very fast now I'm moving on to pivot tables, which is again a very fundamental and very important point. Is there any question? Are we comfortable with the index and match? I can't see the chat box. I can't see a yes. Let me just rejoin. Is there a question? Let me just see the chat box. Kindly go over it again. What, Lisa, what do you want me to go over? Lisa? Okay. Is there any other person the challenge on the lookup? Okay, I'll just repeat it just for Lisa, but you guys be keen, because I know it might be quite challenging at the beginning. Here, for example, you are tasked to find the phone in which any Moi University student, for example, would buy, and which phone will it be, okay, from this data set, and what name is that of that student. For example, this, if we didn't have any other Moi University student in this set of rows, okay, for the first 10 rows in which you don't have. So for example, you're coming from that point, okay. So for example, you're just told from, you have very many rows of data. I want you to find me the phone in which a student from Moi University would buy, okay, and what is the price of the phone, maybe, okay, market retail price. What is the market price of the phone, and what is the name of that student, okay. So here you will intuitively you will use a VLOOKUP, okay. So if you look up again, it looks for the leftmost column of a table, then returns the value in the same row from a column you specified. So here you go select your lookup value, which is Moi University, okay. Then I'll just ensure that I give it a nice reference. So the next thing it tells you, give me the table from which you want me to search from. You give it the table, okay. Then next should be you're looking for the phone, okay. So in the phones brands are is in column 3, so you give it column 3. What type of match do you want? You want an exact match. That's why you select false. Then so a student from Moi University, from your formula, will buy a phone of the brand Carbon, okay. So what is the amount of the Carbon phone that he will buy? You can just use the same formula, copy, paste. It will still give you Carbon, but now for the sales price, it's in the 4th column. So you just change the column here to 4. Okay, so the phone will cost 89.85. You can choose to format it now to your liking. Currency 0 Kenya shillings. Okay, so the phone will cost that, and the student who will buy that phone in the first instance that you find, you can always copy that and copy it here. Okay, you still get an 89.85 because our column is still pointed at 4, but when you count these columns up until the name of the student, you can find that the name of the student is in column 11. So you can just select here column 11. There's a better way to search the name, okay, which is if you can always use the match function. You see here we just wrote 11 because we counted the columns, okay. What if the columns are too many and you can't count, okay. These are 11 columns. So if I wanted to count the columns inside that formula, I'll just write the name because that is and then I will match it, okay. So I will match. This will be my lookup value within this, okay, within this array, okay. And then I will maybe if I for it, sorry, then I'll press 0. So okay, I'll just check the spelling. Okay, so there was a problem with the spelling. Remember, as I'd said, you see there's a space between how this dataset came. It had a name, it had a space after the name here. That's why it wasn't agreeing. So I can now input this part in my formula for it to be more dynamic, so that I can change 2 things, okay. Understand, guys? So here, instead of writing this 11, I can write this 11, which comes from the match formula, okay. So that is one part, which is basically simple for the VLOOKUP, okay. So it's just what you're looking up, the table array, then the column index, then the range lookup, okay. So for the index, now you can search from any part of the table. You're not restricted from searching from the leftmost column, okay. you just specify the column from which you want to search. You specify the range of your table, which in this case is from A1 to O10. As you can see, the last column is O10 here. And then here the match now gives you a number. Okay, so if this match gives you maybe 11 in the row, it will count 11 rows, and then gives you 5 in the column, so it will give you 5. So 1 2 3 4 5, it will give you 5, and maybe a number 8, it will coincide at such a value. For example, here in this 4932, what were we looking for? We were looking for phone called Gionne and its sales price. Okay, so the first Gionne phone that we found, and the sales price was 4932. So the first Gionne phone that we found and the sales price was 4932. Basically, it just matches the position of the Gionne phone on the column, and then matches the position of the sales price on the row, and then gives you an answer. Okay, so that is very, very mandatory, good people, and just try to go use it. Remember, the key to getting it is using it. Okay, but I will advise you to first get used to the VLOOKUP, then it will be easier transitioning to the index and match. There are newer functions like the XLOOKUP. This is now only available on the newer version of Excel, that is Office 365. So you can use it, but I wouldn't go to it because most of us don't have this function. Okay. Okay, so the topic of today, because I believe there should not be any question, because that was just a recap of some of the things that we looked at. Or there were hands up. If your hand was up, you can just always ask a question. Okay, so guys, as I'd earlier promised or alluded, that we are going to look at pivot tables. So what is a pivot table? A pivot table is just group values that aggregates individual items of a more extensive table within one or more discrete categories. That is what the explanation that I gave in the notes. But I will simplify it further, but by saying a pivot table is just like a summary of a table. Okay, it helps you to summarize data. Okay, within different with the different columns that you have. Okay, once you have one column, you can be able to summarize data in various manners. Okay, so as you had seen, we had given you the steps of creating a pivot table, but we'll just go ahead and create a pivot table from this data. Okay, remember guys, we had looked at how to create a table. Okay, does anyone remember how to create a table? I want to see the shortcut in my chat box. How do we create a table easily, very fast? If you guys can remember lesson from last week, how do we create a table? Go to insert table. That's very correct. Also, we said, as John Karaoke has alluded, we can always use the Control T shortcut. So when I use Control T, it will just also create for me a table. Okay, so but now today we are not interested in just a table. Okay, we are interested in a pivot table. Okay, so for pivot table one, you must ensure that all your data, for example, I'm using a smartphone data here, all the data has the headings. Okay, you can always change to headings to things that you can or words that are more intuitive to you. Okay, but ensure that all columns have a heading. Okay, so the next thing is assign the you can always format your data so that when it goes to the pivot table, it has those formats, it carries with it those formats that you want. Okay, so do not use any totals, average, subtotals. That is very intuitive, because you'll see how the pivot table works. It has its own totals, it has its own subtotals and all that. So if you have any blank space, you're asked to remove it and remove any duplicated data if you have, that might affect your results. So you can remove all the filters from the data and then format your data as a table, then pivot. So from the diagram there, you can see an Excel pivot table has a lot of things. Okay, so I'll start from the top left. So you select data from a spreadsheet. Okay, then you make it into a table, then take data from outside table. Okay, so that's how you can create a pivot. You can get it from a table. We'll see the two ways in which you can create a pivot, using first the first option of from a table, then you insert a pivot, or you can insert a pivot table directly. So the next, you'll see how you can refresh cache. Is that cache or cache? Yeah, whatever you call it. Because once you create your model and you keep on building your model, you can always extend the table. Okay, actually we'll use a sample of this data first. Okay, then add on to some data to see how you can refresh your table with your summaries and all that. Okay, so there's the drill down option in which you can now go when you click inside the table, it will always give you now the expanded format of what you have summarized. Okay, you can always format numbers. We'll see how to use a slicer and all that. Okay, now from the notes, I want you to go to your worksheet and do this. So on the smartphone data, I want us to create a copy. Remember, we said we can create a copy by there are two ways. You can press your control button down, then move that data. Okay, that is one. So I'll delete this. Okay, two, you can always right click your mouse, go to move or copy. All right, then from here you can create a sample data, then just press create copy. It will always create a sample 2 for you. Okay, so this I'll call it smartphone data smartphone pivot data. Okay, so from this I want to only go up until maybe 100 columns, 100 rows, sorry. I'll remove everything else so that we can come and add that data and see how now when you add data, how your pivot will refresh. Okay, so here now is where I want us to insert a pivot. Okay, so how do I insert a pivot? Okay, so you can always go to your data, go to the insert tab. You can always insert a pivot. It will ask you from a table or range. Okay guys, I hope you can follow clearly. You go to the first cell of your data. Okay, if so long as your data is in a continuous form, no breaking, no spaces in between, because if I get a space here, if I have, for example, a space here, what happens when I want to create my pivot, it will ask me my range. You see, it gets to split my ranges where it gets a space. So ensure that there are no spaces in between your data. So how do I insert a pivot? I can always go to my insert ribbon. Okay, go to pivot, go to table or range. It will always select all this range. Okay, so you see it selects from the first cell A1 to the last cell. I think should be 00100, and that is the range that it gives you. And then it gives you an option, where do you want to locate your pivot. So if it's in a new worksheet, it will now create a new sheet for you. Okay, if it's in an existing worksheet, you can always select existing worksheet. Okay, and then now go and select where you want. So long, maybe I want my pivot there. Okay, so I'll now get a pivot field and my pivot table here to feed wherever I want. Can everybody first just insert a pivot table? That is the first way. So if okay, so remember we have just copied up the first 100 rows, okay, of data. I'll just now use the smartphone, copy the data, the first 100 rows of data. Okay, I'll say smartphone data table. Okay, so here I went to the insert and the pivot table. From table range, since my table is not breaking at any point, Excel now automatically detects my range. Okay, then it does ask me, where do you want to create your pivot table from? Okay, so this is a range. It gets to list the range. Then I want to put it in an existing worksheet. Then it asks me, when I press the existing, where do you want? It gives me, when I click inside this location, I can be able to move in, maybe select anywhere. Okay, that was the first way. Okay, the second way, which I think might be better for most of you, is first create a table. So go to your data. Okay, then press Ctrl T. Okay, then press OK. All right, so your data is converted first into a table. I'll just minimize it. Okay, so when you have a table, there's always something like a table design that comes here, another ribbon that was not existing. This we had looked at before. So when you're in your table design, there's always an option to summarize your table with a pivot table. Guys, I hope you're following keenly. Once you create a table, you go to your ribbon. Okay, then there's this option of summarize with pivot table. So when you go to the summarize with pivot table, it will just give you the same dialog box to create your pivot table. And for best practices, we said you always name your table inside here to something more intuitive. Okay, so maybe this is table first 100. Okay, just naming it anything. You can name it however you want to name it. Okay, so but the conventions of naming a table still remain. You cannot have spaces in between your names. Okay, so once you have created your table, named it correctly, you can go to the table design, summarize with pivot table. Then when you're sure where you want to put your pivot, you can select, or you can just select the new worksheet, press OK. Then it will now create you a new worksheet here. Depending on the number of sheets that you have open, it will create a new sheet here, and then you still have the same pivot table as we had here. Okay, let me just bring this one here. This one we had created using the insert. This one we have created using the table. Okay, are we together? Is that clear? How to just first insert a pivot table? I need some response. Is that clear on first how to create? Yes, Kabila says yes, and that's a good thing. So there's somebody called Suleiman Daddy. So Suleiman, I'll just undo whatever I had done here, because again, yes, kindly go ahead. Hmm. You can use any language that is comfortable, because I quite don't understand your question. Yes, yes, kindly. Yes, this one's
Yeah.
okay. We have not yet gotten there, but we are getting there. Kindly let me just assist Suleiman on inserting a pivot table first. Okay. So when you Suleiman, when you have already copied your first or you have your, even if you're using your whole data set, okay, so even if you're using your whole data set, and you want to create a, I'll just take the back this to arrange table to range. So this is a range. Okay, so if I want to insert a pivot table using this data, I'll just go ahead and press Ctrl T. Okay, so when I press Ctrl T, now this is my table. A new ribbon comes up here. Okay, when you check your ribbons up here, it comes there. Then under your table design, you will go to summarize with pivot table. So when you go to summarize with pivot table, it will ask you, do you want to put your pivot table in a new worksheet or an existing worksheet. So if you don't have an existing worksheet, just select the option of new worksheet, then press OK. So it will give you what we call a pivot table field list. Okay, so I believe that should not be an issue now. So I'll delete one because they're just similar. However you choose to enter your to insert your pivot table doesn't matter. Okay, but okay, it is usually advisable to use a table because when you get to add data and you refresh, it's quite fast. But sometimes when you use a range, okay, we'll just get to see you need maybe to move your ranges. Okay, there's somebody who is doing something and his computer is not agreeing. And you can mute your mic if you're not asking a question. So here now, when you have a pivot table like this, there are various parts. This is called a field list. This is where you build your report. For example, I want to see, just summarize anything, okay? For example, I want to see all the products, okay? You see, these are maybe the products, maybe I don't want even the product. Let me see the brands, okay? And I want to see maybe their prices, okay? So I can just choose the market retail prices under there, okay? And then under the values field, you'll have an option of choosing what you want. Is it a sum? Okay, when you put the value here under values, it's usually advisable to put in a number under values because the default is a sum, but you can always choose to change the value field setting. Okay, for example, if I wanted an average, okay, I'll just select an average. So here I'll get to see the average prices of each phone. Okay, so by this table I'm able to select the average prices of each phone. Okay, so I can go ahead and format my numbers. Okay, so there I have the average price of each phone. Okay, then I can go ahead and sort from the largest to the smallest. Okay, so if I was just to check this data in a quick glance, I'll see that HTC phones are the most expensive in this data set of the first 100 numbers that I chose, because their average is the highest. That might not be the real case, because the average might, or maybe the individual price of a phone might be more expensive, but in average, HTC ranks the first in terms of in terms of the prices. Remember, if you're to do this using a formula, first you'll have to do a sum if, then sort. Okay, so this is just like on a click of a button, you have your phones. Okay, so maybe you want to see the phones bought by each students from the different schools. Okay, so I'll go to my pivot list. Okay, add a field for the college. What happens when I add a field to the college? Now I'll have field from the first 100 students. I can get to see people from Chuka University or a student from Chuka University. Okay, now I can just change this field. Okay, to always bring up your field list, you can go to the pivot, analyze field list. Okay, now I want to change this to the value field setting here to sum. Okay, so here I can get to see the phones bought, the sum of phones bought by each student, brand of phone bought by each student from each university. Okay, so maybe I want now to see the phones themselves, not the brand. Remember, the brand, we can have two Samsung, we can have, but the brand itself. Okay, so I'll just go again and change my brand here to maybe the product name, okay, which we all know was the type of phone. Okay, so you can see that people from Dedan Kimathi bought this kind of phones, then people from Egerton did buy this kind of phones. Okay, are we together up until that point? I've just been adding fields. I'll get to show you the fields that I've added. I've added college on the row, and the product name on the row and the value. Say maybe I wanted to add a filter to this data, maybe a town. Okay, let's see how that happened. Maybe now this is from all towns. Okay, maybe I just wanted to see maybe from maybe Nairobi. Okay, from the schools in Nairobi, I'll just select Nairobi. Okay, now filtering. Now remember, we have a filter of student, we have a filter of universities with the with their with the market retail prices of the phones bought, but now I only want to specifically get phones, maybe universities from Nairobi. From this, I can get that Kenyatta University people bought Gione, Carbon, Lenovo, and this TCL. People from Multimedia did buy Alcatel, Idol 4, and people from Technical University of Kenya, which is in Nairobi. Remember, now they're being guided by this filter that we've put here. Did buy people from Technical bought Asus and a Samsung. Okay, people from University of Nairobi bought a Coolpad, a Gione, a Microsoft, and a Solo. Okay, so these again, okay, just confirm that is my connection clear? I can see two people saying that they had a problem with the connection, so I will just want to ensure that you guys, most of you guys, can hear me and see my screen clearly. Okay, okay, yes, here under the values. No, you don't refresh. You don't refresh. The only time you might need to refresh a pivot table is when you are adding new data to it. For example, remember here we had only 100 rows of data. Okay, we only used the first 100 rows of data, and that's why I categorically said I'll first use the 100 rows of data and then add more data to it so that we see how. I'll just delete this, how our data now will add. Okay, so maybe here we had 3 phones for Kenyatta University. What if we add the rest of the data? How does it behave? So you don't need to refresh while you're changing this field here, although when you refresh nothing will happen really. Okay, so you just have to go to some value field setting and change the under here you can choose how to summarize your field by. Okay, so I see like two people had issues while creating pivot tables. I'll just go back to it very fast, but kindly be keen and ensure that you can get me clearly so that we don't take too much time here. Okay, so as said, once you have your data here, you can always go and press Ctrl T. Remember, I cannot now create here. I'll just unselect it back to arrange. So when you have such data, you can press Ctrl T. Okay, when you press Ctrl T, it will ask you where is the data from your table. It will try find all the continuous data without any breaks in between, and you see it highlights all the rows up to row 100. Okay, so once that happens, okay, you can always say okay. All right, and once you create a table, you will always find a new ribbon here indicated table design. Table design, we said after you see this table design, there's always an option to summarize your table by to insert a pivot table by summarizing the table with a pivot table. So once you press OK, and it will ask you where do you, for this pivot table, from table or range. Now it's from table. Select the table or range. You've selected the table that you have just created right now. It will ask you where do you want to put your table, in a new worksheet or an existing worksheet. So we said maybe you want to put a new worksheet. You just press OK. So once you press OK, you'll have your pivot table fields here, and now your report view here. Okay, where you want to build your report. Okay, so from here you can toggle around with anything that you want. Okay, are we together, guys? Yeah, I hope Chris and Malvin have been able to see how to do that. Okay, so we'll go back, or we can just use this now again and now start inserting the fields. Okay, so we said, like, in this first pivot that we've created, we wanted first just to see every college and the average price, market retail price of phones that they bought. Sorry, phones first. Okay, so maybe we wanted just to see the brand. Okay, it will list for us all the unique brands. Okay, it's like it has already even removed the duplicates for us. Okay, so you won't find a duplicate here of a brand in that column. Okay, so the next thing we did was to find the market retail price here, the market retail price. Then we said we just wanted to see an average. We went to the value field setting. We went and changed from sum. By default it's a sum. Now we change to an average. Okay, so here we went ahead and formatted our numbers to something that was more appealing to our eyes, so maybe 0. Okay, so here we went ahead and sorted. Once you're inside here, you can always sort. Once you click inside the pivot table. So here I can sort by the largest to the smallest, and that's when we came to an arrival that on average HTC phones are very expensive in the data set that we were given. All right, so we went ahead and said we no longer need just to see the phones, we need to see let me just rename this pivot phones by uni. Okay, so here we wanted now to see in each university which kind of phones in summary do they buy. Okay, so we went again to our pivot table, on our field list. Okay, now we change this one. Now we want to see the actual sum. All right, then here we now want to see the product itself, which is the phone, and then we want also to see the the college in which students come from. Okay, so here you can see phones, this M113 metallic gray, which is a 16 GB, was how many were this bought? 94.59. Okay, so if you wanted to know the number and not the value, what will you do? We just go back here and go to the value field setting and just do a simple count. Okay, so I'll just change my data into a number, press OK. Okay, so you can see that this phone's called MI3 metallic gray 16 GB was just bought only one piece was bought in Chuka. Okay, now we said, what if you wanted just to see maybe now universities in maybe a certain town like Nairobi? I can just go ahead and filter with, under the filters here, insert the field for towns, then come select maybe something like Nairobi. Okay, then I press OK. So here you'll get to see that students from Kenyatta University bought a phone known as Gione. Well, they bought in total 4 phones, but these phones can be seen as follows. It was a TCL, a Lenovo. Okay, so all these people bought one phone from all these manufacturers. Okay, are we together up until that point? Up to that point, are we together? Okay, so you'll ask yourself, so I've seen this. Okay, I've been able to summarize this. Remember, you can summarize in any way that you want. Okay, so for example, if I wanted now under each university maybe now to see the brand even before I see the phone. Okay, so I'll go ahead and see the brand. Okay, so I'll just add under my rows what I want to see. Okay, now you see I can get to see that these people bought TCLs in Kenyatta University, but the specific TCL that they bought was this. Okay, so people from multimedia bought maybe a Samsung, and the specific Samsung was this. Okay, again, I can always get to see, I can always add. You see here, I used the count of market retail price. Now what if I add another sum? Okay, so I can see that these people have added now. Remember, the first one was account. Okay, I was just counting them. Okay, so count of, I can even change these headings, count of phones. Okay, just resize. Now I get to see that people from Kenyatta University, okay, bought uh four phones, okay, worth 42,000, and that breakdown can be as seen below. What if I just want to see a collapse table? What do? I go ahead and collapse everything. So I can just collapse the entire field. Okay, sorry, you can just go collapse here. So that one I can collapse one by one, or I can now collapse everything. I want to collapse entire field. Okay, so if I collapse everything, just in a summary, sort of, I can get to see that Kenyatta University students bought four phones worth this price. Okay, so if I wanted to see the average total sum, I can just rename this. You can always rename your titles, not use the ones that have been given there. Total expenditure on phones. Okay, phones. Okay, so by this I can already see that four phones were bought, okay, worth 42,000 by students in Kenyatta universities. Now if I want to drill down to which phones are these, I can always use that plus button, and I get to see there are four phones. One is a TCL, one is a Lenovo, worth this amount, 6080. Okay, remember, you always have the option of having these subtotals at each point. If you don't want them, there's always an option of removing the subtotals. Okay, so you can always go under the design tab and choose where you want your subtotals under this. If you can remember well in our sorry, if you can remember well, we were giving the tips on preparing the data. We said the data doesn't need to have any subtotal in it. Okay, because all this can now be done on the pivot table. Okay, so I'll go ahead and show you how you can now you can see how we can see everything per uh, per phone. Okay, like if you wanted to drill down, maybe I can just now return the other towns for the town that we had filtered. I'll just add lines here so that you can get to see. We had filtered only universities in Nairobi. Okay, what about universities maybe in Eldoret? I'll just choose Eldoret. I see there are also some I don't know if this is a true representation. Okay, I'll just undo the Nairobi. Yeah, that one. So you can only see that four phones were bought in Eldoret, and the total expenditure was 29,721. And which phones were bought? The phones were a Vivo, it was a Redmi, and it was an Infocus. So this one can clearly, if we just select everything, we can get a summary of like who's the biggest spender. Okay, so if we just sort based on the largest to the smallest, we can see that people from Kibabii University are the biggest spenders on phone, because they bought six phones of worth 94,000, and the least spenders in terms of phones bought were people from University of Embu, because they bought phones worth 8,000 only. The total spend for these 99 phones was 1 million. Okay, do you guys see how we can just create a summary by such a pivot table? Remember, in this case we have not used AFSAMIF, we've not used any formula, we've just used the default settings in the table. Is there any question before now we see how we can now insert our own calculation inside such a table? Is there any question? Somebody is interested in Embu. So University of Embu, they only bought 2 phones. Okay, so one student, maybe because you can see the count of phones are here, one person bought an Oppo A37F, which was gray in color. It was a 16 GB and it cost them 6,000. And the other person bought a Nuvo Alpha with a free power bank, which was 2026. Okay, are we together? Are we together, guys? I need to hear your voice since my device, one of my devices, has gone off. Just give you time to look at that table, just a few minutes. Ask me a question before I move on. Have you guys been able to replicate this on your worksheets? That is the question I should be asking. Have you been able? But remember, this again is for the first 99 rows because we are using data from we separated it from the first 99 rows. Okay, sorry for that. So yeah, just open my other device. Okay, so here we have only the first 99 rows. I think it will be prudent for me to show you how to add the other data, then refresh, so that you can see how this matrix of these first 99 forms will change, so that you can get to appreciate such. Okay, so here, for you to know the source of your data, you can always go to the pivot table analyze, go to change data source. When this one will always show you where your data is coming from. Like right now, I'm sure my table is coming from data table 4, which is under the smartphone pivot table. Okay, so I'll just go. Remember, I'd added data up until the first row 100, so I'll go for the rest from row 100. Okay, this is also, I'd cut some data there, so I'll just go data from, get data from maybe 101. Okay, just go get from 101, copy all the way down. Remember, these are like, I don't know, 1,500 rows. I'll add them here. Okay, so my table, I'll resize my table if need be. Okay, so guys, remember my table was only getting 2. I'll just cut everything else. My table was only going up to 100. Okay,
What is the shortcut of going to the last cell without scrolling?
yes, control down. Control up is the other way. It's just a page down, page up. So I'll just get this, remove this, just remove this part, cut it. Okay, so I've removed all the data. Actually, I think I've removed even something that was initially there, but we'll return it. So I've copied the first, our data on the pivot table is only having the first 99 rows. Okay, that is what we had said, and we had said that those forms were 99 here. So we want to see what happens now when I add extra data inside my table and now refresh my pivot. How does it change? Okay, so I come back here. That's what I was picking. I was picking this extra data now from, I think I'll start from 100 because I accidentally removed row 100. So here, so I'll start copying from row 100 all the way. So I copy all the way down. Remember, if you don't know how to use this shortcut, you can always use the mouse to drag over. Okay, so when you drag over, you'll still have the same results. Okay, so here I'll just go to the last pivot table. I come and add here. Okay, So when I add there, yes, you copy paste, because I'm assuming somebody might even be typing in the data. Maybe somebody's maintaining sales for this company. Once they sell, they type in. Okay. So here, something else to just ensure, I'll go and ensure from my table design that my table covers. I'll go to this button called resize table. You see, my table initially was going from 1 to 100, but now when I resize my table, it goes from uh, A1 to the last cell, which is 1514 here. 1514 here. Okay, I'll press OK to resize my table. Now I go back to my pivot. Now from this point is where I said you can actually go and refresh your data. So look at what happens now when I refresh my data. Now all the phones, okay, because now you see I'm moving from 1514, okay, to the first row. 1514 minus 1, because the first one is a header. That's why I have 1513 phones here. So the total spend was 19 million. Again, you see now it ranks the highest. Now the highest spender being Moi University, and the lowest spender being Masinde Muliro, buying only 23 phones. Are you together up until that point? I have not shown you how to insert a slicer. I'm not showing you how to create a pivot chart and all that. I want us to look. But first of all, it's just getting the basics, understanding, okay, understanding how you can use the pivot to do various things. Okay, so for example, these are the people who are buying Samsung in Moi University. For the highest person, I can still go ahead and sort this data from largest to smallest. Okay, so here I'll get to see that the person who bought the most expensive phone in Moi University bought a Samsung worth 78,000. Okay, yes, Joel, go ahead. Oh, okay. Yes, for example, assuming two different people are using this worksheet, okay? Maybe there's a cashier, maybe there's a data entry clerk who enters the data once it's here, okay? If I'm getting you correctly. For example, I myself will come and add a phone that is not here. Maybe I'll add another university just to show you. I've not seen maybe their Google phone here. Maybe I'll add a Google Pixel. Remember, now I'm not copying from anywhere. I'm just doing a manual data entry. Google Pixel, I'll just maybe go with a 7 Pro. Okay. So you see, once I do that, it adds itself to the table. Okay. So for the brand, I'll just write Google, and then the price, maybe I'll just put it at maybe 105,000. Okay, then the market retail price, maybe it's now being sold at 99,000. Okay, this, remember, we are feeding in from maybe an actual sale. The number of ratings, maybe it has been rated by 23 people. Number of reviews, it has 12 reviews. Star rating, it has maybe a 4.5 star rating. It is maybe an 8 GB phone. Okay, 8 GB. The name of the person who bought, maybe it's Joel who bought the phone. And the height of, I won't go now into this, but I can just do 1 2 3. The weight maybe is 67. Maybe the age is 22, and we'll just put a unique university here, like maybe USIU. Okay, USIU. Okay, so you see what happens now. Okay, this data has been entered manually, and maybe you're using this, but now you are connected. Maybe you're all on the same platform, like a OneDrive. Remember, OneDrive enables you to share data from one person to another, or you are using a common SharePoint, or you could be under the same Azure database, Microsoft Azure. So it can be that. So once on your end you come and refresh, okay, remember I've just entered that. So once I come first, I'll ensure, you see this table appends itself. I'll just go ensure that my table is now up until 1515, which is okay. Then I'll just come and refresh this. So once I refresh this, okay, look now what happens. I should be having 1514 phones, with the phone from USIU, the USIU university, being a Google, and a Google Pixel 7 Pro being added to my data, and now it becomes the lowest since it's only 99,000 and it's one phone. Are we together, Joel? Okay. Yeah, yeah. So that is one of the ways, but I'll ask you to go here under the fields here. Just go try change. Okay, change to anything that you want here. Maybe you can even now, instead of your filter being town, you can change it. Maybe now have your college as the filter. Okay, so you can come change, see the products per I'll just collapse everything, and I'll remove that to one entry so it doesn't mess up any data that I may have. Okay, so yeah, I'll just come collapse entire field. Okay, also come collapse entire field. Expanding the Samsung one, but the point I wanted to drive is now you can even have your college as your filter. Okay, so here you can maybe select now based on now what if we select USIU, which is gone. Remember, we have not refreshed, so it is still using the old cache. I've removed the entry here, but I've not refreshed. Okay, so what happens when I refresh, and the data has already gone? You see now it comes 0 because that data entry is not, it's not there. That is what we meant when we said when we looked at the, you remember me saying something like is it refreshing cache? Okay, so you can go ahead and maybe just, if you just maybe your interest is in on Jaramogi, select Jaramogi. You'll see that people from Jaramogi Oginga Odinga University of Science and Technology are more inclined to using iPhones, which is an Apple phone, iPhone 12, maybe iPhone XX Max, iPhone 8. Then they go all the way to Samsung and all the Gione and the likes. Okay, so you can, it is not static. It's not like the university must be on the row. It's now based on your on your need. Okay, are we together, guys? I hope we are together and I'm not alone. In case of any question, you can keep asking, because I want now to show you how some few things on, for example, how can you now insert a column. Okay, maybe a calculated column, because remember, when you try to change anything inside the pivot table, it gives you this notification, tells you that we can't make this change for the selected cells because it will affect the pivot table. Use the field list to change the report if you're trying to insert or delete cells. Has anybody tried to and found this error and gotten this error? I need to know. Let me just check. I cannot see any hand up. Okay, I'm just checking the chats. Has anybody found this error? Anyone? Joseph, is your hand up? Okay. So if nobody has found that error, kindly go create the the pivot table and try and do that. Okay. So I'll just change back this. I'll select all. I'll select all. I'll press OK. And then I'll go back here. And pull out all. Okay, yeah. So if I was just to see which phone is the most bought by students in Kenya, regardless of the university that they are in, I will say that the Samsung phone is the most bought in that price. Okay, so you see, we can get very quick summaries of such. Okay, now what happens when maybe something is not on your Excel sheet and you want to add maybe a column. Okay, can everybody see my screen? So what happens if, for example, I wanted to add a column that shows me just the average expenditure on a Samsung phone, for example? Okay, who has an idea? If I just wanted on now as an extra information on my table, I just want to see the average spend on a Samsung phone. Anybody can chat in my chat box. Anybody who has an idea of one, if I just wanted to see not the total expenditure, now I just wanted to see the average expenditure on a Samsung phone, the average expenditure on a Redmi, on an Oppo, maybe anything. Okay, so there are two ways, guys. There's one way in which we said you can go to your field list. Okay, go to your field list, add another field, but now instead of a sum, you see these two sum are total, you change here. Okay, you change here the value field setting, you now give me an average. Okay, so you'll see that the average spend on an a Samsung phone is 19,000. Though the most bought phones, the average spend is 19,000, which most probably is not the highest spend. Okay, so if I was to rank the phones which are bought based on spend, I will maybe find different results. Okay, so if I was just to sort this maybe from largest to smallest, I will see that the Apple phone or the iPhone as we know it usually has the highest spend in terms of the average price of a phone. Okay, are we together, guys? Are we together? Joseph, is you said something? Yes, thank you. So that is one way. Okay, so for example, you wanted to do something. Okay, you see here we are only limited to, I'll just click here, sorry, I'll just go back here and go to value field setting. You're only limited to these formulas. Okay, they're quite a number if you want, but you might want something extra. Okay, maybe you might want, okay, this is the total expenditure on phones. Remember, this is on on market price. Okay, this is on market price. So long, maybe you want another value like sales price, now to find the difference at each point of all the phones and maybe rank which one has the biggest difference in terms of all the total phones bought between the sales price and the market price. Remember, I can just change this column to market price so that nobody is confused. Total expenditure, market price. So market retail price. Okay, so maybe now I want a column that now differentiates between this price and this price. One, I cannot be able to now I can, if I do this minus this here, I'll find a number, but this number will not be dynamic as I change my, you see it's even not calculating correctly, okay, because it's not very dynamic when I'm changing my, I'll be changing my, say for example I change my field to something shorter. Maybe I remove everything here, and just, you see, I just get some ref, okay, which might not be the desired result, okay. So what can I do? There's always something we call a calculated column, okay. So a calculated column now takes whatever is in the table and calculates. Remember, if you're going to advance more on or rather use some Excel or go the Microsoft way and now move from Excel, maybe use Microsoft SQL and now move to Power BI, you'll find that BI works using the calculated columns, okay. It uses measures which basically take everything as a column, okay. So just for an example here, we will go ahead and add, okay. How do you add a calculated column? You click inside your pivot table, you go to the pivot analyze tab or ribbon that pops up, and then you go to field items and sets. So here you press under the calculated field, then now you name your field, okay. So here I can name it difference between, just want a very short name, between market retail price and sales price, okay. So that is the name. What do I want? I want this market retail price, this one, okay, minus the sales price. I also look for the sales price column, this one, okay. So I just click there, okay, and add, okay. I say okay. So here you see now it calculates at each point the difference between these two. So if I wanted to see which phone has the difference price, the highest difference price between the market retail price and the sales price, I can even just again sort how we've been doing from the largest to the smallest. I see that the Samsung phone has the highest difference between what is being offered in the market retail price and its initial sales price. Are you together, guys? I know for the calculated column it might be it might look a little bit new in the first beginning, but now you can even go ahead and now even from this column that is new, do a percentage. You can even do the difference as a percentage of the market retail price. Now you can go ahead and do so many things with such knowledge, okay. So looking at my watch, I'm seeing as if time is really going, but I think I will stop at that so that tomorrow we get to see how to insert a slicer, how to use slicers, and how to use maybe now charts, how to make charts that are now linked directly to our tables, okay. Guys, I believe you can be able to create a table, format it, maybe even drill down to different things that you want here and there. Yes, I can see a question by Joel. Joel says, I repeat, this calculated field. On the calculated field, we'll create another calculated field that now shows a percentage difference between, or the percentage difference between the market retail price and the sales price, okay. Remember here on the, you go under the pivot analyze tab, okay, then go to the calculated field, okay, can list formulas. Okay, so if you wanted to list your formulas, this is the difference between market retail price is just the market retail price over minus the sales price. Okay, so if you wanted now a percentage, what will I do? I just go here under the pivot analyze, I go to calculated field. Now I want a new formula that shows the percentage difference. Remember, this is a formula that is not in the pivot table. You're creating a new formula. Okay, so here that's the percentage difference. So here, what do I want? I want, can always use a bracket. I want now the difference the difference between market and retail price. Okay, that one I want it all over the sales price. Okay, and then I'll format it as a percentage. Okay, then I press okay. Now this one I come and format it as a percentage. Okay, because it was a percent. Okay, now I can see that now I've created a new column that shows me the percentage, this market retail price as a percentage of the sales price. Okay, so we can say that now again you can even sort this. Remember, you can be sorting from how you feel like. Okay, so like this phone written IQ00. Okay, the total market retail price was 106, the sales price was 71, so it had a 49% difference. Okay, so this is a working inside a table that was not initially there. Okay, I can see 2 hands up. Yeah, are there questions or just comments, or you want us to stop? Because I can see our time is almost over. Is there anybody with a question? Yes, go ahead, Meridamo. Mhm. No worries, no worries. Were you ensuring that you had resized your table? Yes. Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, yeah. We added it to the table, then we resized our table to ensure that our table now captured everything. Then we refresh. So when you go here and select your table, so say added something, okay? So I go to the table design. There is this resize table option. So it will always tell me now, okay, you're resizing your table. Where do you want it to get to? Say it was getting to 101. Ensure that it gets to the last row, which is 15, 14. Yeah. Okay. Yes, I now refresh on my pivot. Yeah. Welcome. Thank you for that question, Mary. Osore, do you still have a question? Or is your hand up by default? Okay. So guys, we still have a lot to look under the pivot tables. We still have to see how pivot charts work. We still have to see how we can maybe you can format your pivot tables. There are 3 ways to represent it. There is different layouts: the compact form, the outline, and the tabular. You can always create a blank line after the table, but I only want us to do this. The first thing, I just want you to go around, goof around the field list. Make sure you put everything everywhere, see how it appears, and maybe we'll get to see how you fare on tomorrow. Okay, maybe you still have a question? No. Mary doesn't have a question. Okay. So remember, guys, you can even now create a function. Okay. Remember here we had star rating. Okay, star rating. Okay. You can even put star. Okay, so yeah. Remember here it adds the star. Maybe this is not what you want. Maybe you want to see the average of the star. Maybe you want a certain phone with a certain star rating, but you want to see if it was the most bought phone by maybe a particular college, okay, and what was the star rating. We'll see how you can also make the 8 GB, maybe this, to be easily understood as a number, so that can help to make a solution. Okay, remember guys, we already talked about how you can find such thing. Maybe now instead of it being 1 GB, we create it to 1000 MB. This one becomes 512, so that they are they are measurable by one standard. Okay guys, I ask not to keep you so much, because I know you might be having other things, other people are moving to other places. So if there is no question, I would like to call it a day. Is it okay, guys? All right, thank you very much for attending the class and being attentive and listening in and following through. Let's meet tomorrow, same time, same place. Go try out this go try out what we have learned today. Go through your assignment. Let's meet tomorrow. All right. Thank you guys and have a good night.